Thank you, Alexa. So let me welcome everyone to the, what month is it? September meeting of the Union Township Planning Commission. And we'll go ahead and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America,
to
and to the republic
which
for
it
which it stands,
one
nation,
under
under God, indivisible, with
liberty
liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So roll call, please.
Albrecht,
Sorry about that. I'm here. City of Lexington, Salem County.
okay, Buckley,
Here. Apologies. Here, Union Township, Isabella County.
Darren, we have absent. Fuller,
Here, Union Township, Isabella County.
LaBelle,
Here, Union Township, Isabella County.
Lapp,
Here, Union Township, Isabella County.
and Shingles, still absent. Squadrito,
Present, City of Mount Pleasant, Isabella County.
Thering,
Here, Union Township, Isabella County.
thank you.
Okay, thank you. So next item is approval of tonight's agenda. As we move to this, I'll bring to your attention that under correspondence, board reports and presentations, item D, appointment to Sidewalk and Pathway Prioritization Committee, was actually an inadvertent carryover from a previous agenda. We don't have any appointments to make on that right now. That we did two, and there's no expiring terms and there's no pending applications. So I would suggest to strike item 6D. Are there any other corrections or additions or anything that anyone has regarding tonight's minutes?
Did we just strike C as Mike Darren isn't here to make a presentation?
I mean, the minutes will reflect that no presentation was made. So, I mean, it's going to effectively not end up being something, but I don't know. If that's a motion, we can consider it, but as I said, I think we can just kind of deal with that. Anything else? Any items that people have? Okay, if not, then I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the one change of eliminating the item that wasn't intended to be there, namely item 6D.
Moved.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, I believe I heard, I thought I heard Fuller first as the mover. And I guess since Buckley was the second voice I heard, I'll take Buckley as the second. Any further discussion on the agenda? So I'll
Just to clarify, Phil, that was not me that seconded. I heard Lapis first, but that's just what I heard.
Okay, I thought I heard you say something. I did hear her too, but I thought there was someone in between. So then we'll make it the motion to approve the agenda as made by Fuller with a second by Lapp. Any further discussion? I'll just ask for a voice or hand vote. All in favor of approving tonight's agenda, please either say aye or give a thumbs up or a hand.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, I see none opposed, so I would will declare that motion carried. So we have our agenda. Next item is we have the minutes from August 17th. That was our last regular meeting. And so you have those minutes. Are there any corrections to the August 17th minutes? And I'll entertain a motion to approve if no one has any corrections, I'll entertain a motion to approve the August 17th minutes as submitted.
I'll move to approve the minutes as submitted.
Okay, motion was by Lapp to approve the August 17th minutes. Is there a second?
I can accept.
Second by Albrecht. Further discussion? All in favor, please either say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Once again, I see none opposed, so we'll consider that to have carried. So we have our minutes. Next item is correspondence, board reports, presentations. First is Thering, updates from Board of Trustees.
I unfortunately, or fortunately, have nothing to report at this time. So we'll try again the next meeting from the Board of Trustees.
Okay. Is that because they have gone radio silent, or you just don't have anything exciting going on, or anything
Well,
pertinent, I guess maybe is a better word.
no, we definitely have exciting things going on, but nothing that would pertain to the Planning Commission.
Okay. Any questions for Commissioner and Trustee Thering? Okay, we'll move on. And we'll note that you probably already caught it, but we'll note that Commissioner Shingles is here. Let's see. Buckley, updates from ZBA.
Yeah, we actually have a couple of updates, believe it or not. The first agenda item that we had in our last meeting had to do with actually, it was a little bit of a test of some new language that we had included in our most recent zoning ordinance and related to the maximum height. There was a request for 1 foot variance from the maximum height of a outbuilding, accessory building on a residential parcel. It was a lot of conversation about it. Ultimately, the Board of Appeals opted to adhere to the new ordinance that had been passed. And unfortunately, the applicant had checked on the ordinance in 2019 and then failed to continue to follow up and check on the ordinance as it was being updated. Had a contractor and purchased materials prior to getting a permit and prior to finding out the ordinance had changed. And so that was the primary reason for the request for variance. And so that particular change in the ordinance has, I guess, withstood its first request, I suppose. That's the right way to say it. The second thing that we actually reviewed was it was, I believe it's fairly rare. It was an administrative appeal it was an appeal from an applicant from an administrative decision that had been made within the township, and we were being asked to review it and determine whether or not personnel had made taken the appropriate course of action on the issuance of permits, the assessment that was made in terms of the violations of permits and those sorts of things. And after hearing the entire presentation, the board voted unanimously to uphold the administrative decisions that had been made. So that appeal was denied as well. So those are 2 items on our list. It was, as far as ZBA goes, a reasonably interesting meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
What was the decision on the first one then?
The first one was we did not issue a variance. It was a very unfortunate case, and that we all of the ZBA members felt bad for the property owners who had essentially purchased those materials and had a lot of, with the cost of building materials these days, had a lot of expense wound up into those, and we're asking for a variance because there was, and I don't know to the extent of what they can and cannot do, but that either from an aesthetic viewpoint or from a structural viewpoint would not be able to use some of the materials as a result of not getting the variance. And so, however, they're just after a review by the ZBA, there just wasn't any kind of sufficient evidence presented to us that either the township or the ordinance was somehow presenting a harm to the applicant, or that the township, for instance, had been negligent in its communications with the applicant. It was just an unfortunate situation of a homeowner that had taken steps out of order to construct something and got pinched on it.
Wouldn't that have been caught in a building permit situation?
I'm sorry?
Wouldn't have that been caught in a building permit situation?
It should have been, and that was one of the things that it kind of hinged on, was the fact that the contractor that they had gone with ordered materials and paid for materials prior to actually getting the permit. And so it absolutely should have been. We advised the homeowner that should have been caught, and the homeowner acknowledged that they have had many conversations with the contractor. To what resolution I don't know, but yes, that was kind of what it hinged on.
Good. Other questions for Commissioner Buckley?
Just to give you a quick idea on the difference, the contractor bought the materials, bought the trusses in August of 2020. He applied for the permit in June of 2021. This was not a few weeks difference.
Yes.
All right. Well, thanks for that interesting report. Should we get Commissioner Shingles's location for the minutes?
I am in Mount Pleasant in Isabella County. I have to remember what they used to say, Union Township, but I'm actually still on campus, so in Mount Pleasant.
He's in his nice, neat office as opposed to my kind of odd office.
That's because I just moved in. Give it a couple of months.
All right. And as we pointed out earlier, Commissioner Darren is not here tonight, so I gather that we won't have an update from Sidewalks and Pathways. So we'll catch up with him next month. And we don't have, does anybody have anything else that needs to come before us in the way of reports and/or presentations at this point? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. So next item is public comment. Now we have two public hearings tonight. So this is items, this is the point in the meeting where individuals are invited to address the Planning Commission on items that are not on tonight's agenda. So anyone who's here to speak to either of the items that are subjects of the public hearing will do so at that time, as well as for the first item, the applicant will have an opportunity to speak at that time when that item is considered. So this is really for anything on the agenda or anything that the public wants to comment on that's not on tonight's agenda. And so if you want to do that, hit your raise hand button. We'll recognize you, bring you across, and we just ask you to give us your name and address for the minutes and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Public comments open at 7:20.
Would add just one quick comment, since we our one member of the public is dialing in. When on a phone call, if you hit the star key and the number 9 key, it raises your hand electronically.
Yeah, thanks for adding that. I didn't pick up on the fact that that was a person joining by telephone. All right. They're also our applicants, so I assume that they'll speak later. All right, so not seeing any indications for public comment at this time. We'll go ahead and close that back up at 7:21. And now we'll move to new business. First item is special use permit application 21-03. The applicant is Brianne Muggenberg. Hope I'm saying that right. And this is a special use permit application for a child daycare in an agricultural zone. And so I will turn it over to Rodney and or Peter for a brief introduction, and then we'll move to the public hearing.
Thank you. I'll just give a brief introduction. This is, as you said, this is for a group child daycare home. You should have a copy of our report dated September 14th. The applicant currently operates a group daycare home in Shepherd and is moving to the area, which we're very happy about. It's a good, happy to invite them in. And they're looking to the property at 611 South Bamber Road. And they're pursuing this. They have not closed on the property yet. Part of their application materials, they showed they had the ability to make this application. In our report, we have all the standards for special use approval noted. And also on page 31 of your packet, we show the standards that apply specifically to group child daycare homes. And our comments are in the report related to conformance with the ordinance. And I'm happy to answer questions as we go along.
Okay, thank you. Any urgent questions for Rodney at this point? Okay, so we'll move to the public hearing. So this all special use permits, when they come before us, they involve a public hearing. So there was a notice in the paper. Property owners within the specified distance were notified. And so we want to give everyone who wants to speak an opportunity to speak to address the Planning Commission. I do want to point out that the applicant will have their own opportunity to address their application and to stand for questions after the public hearing is concluded. So this is really an opportunity for the public that are not part of the project to comment on it if they choose to do so. So if anyone is out there who wants to address the Planning Commission on this application, they're invited to do so. Either hit your raise hand button or would you say #9 or *9?
Yeah, this *9 raises your hand electronically.
If a person were to be calling in and wanted to offer a public comment, they would do *9 to make their intentions known. And so the public hearing on the special use permit application 21-03 is open at 7:24. And I'll ask our staff, were there any written comments received? Okay, so no written comments on this. So we'll just see if there are any from the public. As of right now, there's no one else in besides the applicant, but we'll give it a minute or so. Okay, well, this was duly advertised with a 7 p.m. start time, so let the record show that no public comments were offered during the public hearing. And we will close the public hearing at 7:25. And so next would be updates from staff and the applicant. So as Rodney pointed out, we have their township staff's memo. So at this point, I guess I would invite the applicant, if she can hear me, to go ahead, and if there's anything you would like to say of an introductory nature about your project, and then we'll have you answer any questions that the planning commissioners have.
Sure there. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Well, my name is Bree. I want to first of all thank you all for giving me this opportunity to actually even get a special use permit. You know, I've been doing daycare. My son's 20. I've been doing it since he was not even quite 1 year old. I've taken a few years off. So this is just like another step in the process for me. My current home, I've been there for 13 years, but recently updating to my license for 12. It's recently been the last 3 years that I've done that. And it's really unique with me moving right now. So I'm a single mother and obviously a business owner, but the owners that I'm purchasing the Bamba Road home from, in order to make all of this happen for me to move my business, I'm essentially leasing the home right now. And everything's contingent upon me getting the special use permit. So until I get my special use permit, I'm not even really able to accept an offer on my home, because if for some reason I didn't get the special use permit, then of course, that's the first contingency, is that I'm able to get it, because if I don't, then I can't move my business. So it's kind of this big circle of everything that all works together. So it's really super important. And I know, you know, the next, if it does get approved tonight, then my understanding it goes to the Board of Trustees, which then of course is, I think, like another 3 weeks out, which means it's 3 more weeks for me. But as part of all of this, I obviously have my driveway that I need to get redone. I've got fencing that I need to get put up. But really, until I know that I have that special use permit finalized, I really can't start any of that process. So I don't know if that helps you understand a little bit of like my pinch that I'm in and being able to do this. But it is just merely a daycare home. There is 12 kids. There's nothing beyond a daycare. It's a licensed daycare home. So I fall within all of the licensing guidelines. And then once I get my special use permit, that's really the first step even to apply for my childcare license. So I can't even apply to transfer my license until I get the permit as well. And I hope that sums everything up. But yeah, if anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Okay, well, thank you. So yeah, I want to, so the commission has, you know, we have a copy of your application, and I've had a chance to look it over. So I want to open it up to any questions from any of the planning commissioners for the applicant. I guess I'll ask one. I don't know that it was crystal clear in the application, but are there going to be any other employees, or is it just you?
Yeah, and hopefully I do believe that I had answered that in there. Most definitely, as a licensed childcare facility, it's 1 staff to 6 children. God bless anybody's heart that wants to have 12 kids by themselves. So there will always, and it's not necessarily always me at the same time. Obviously, it's a business, but at any given time, if there are actually 12 kids, because that's the maximum capacity that I can have, which doesn't mean that I would, but if I have 6 kids or less, then I would have just 1 staff. And if it's over 6 kids, then I would have 2 staff at any given time. And I also think that should have been reflected in the parking space scenario, is where 2 of those spots were written down for staff.
Okay, I may have missed that, but thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Other questions?
can offer one quick comment, if I may, just on something Bree mentioned. It is true that the special use permit, the Plan Commission is a recommending body. The Board of Trustees has final approval. Unfortunately, if the Plan Commission takes action tonight, the next available board meeting would normally be October 13th. That agenda is already closed. I checked into that to see if it was just planning ahead. And so this would actually, if you were to take action tonight, this would actually appear on the October 27th agenda, which is a little more than 3 weeks. It's about a little over a month actually away. I wish we could get it sooner than that, but the October 13th board agenda is already completely full.
Okay. Well, it's unfortunate, but those things happen. Just to remind ourselves, and there's, even though that's, that adds another wrinkle to things, I suppose. I think it's always useful to remind ourselves of these things. With a special use permit, that is not particular, actually, or is it? Is that the one that stays with the property?
It does, yes.
Okay. So what would happen, what would be the situation where, so just for the sake of argument, let's say that something happens and the plan to purchase this property, let's say we recommend it and the Board of Trustees approve it. If something falls through in terms of the sale of the property and this applicant does not end up buying that property, then whoever buys it next will have the right to have a child daycare home if they want to. Is that accurate?
That is correct. It would have to follow the hours of operation and such that the applicant has put it in her materials. Her application is part of the special use permit, all the details she provided. So as long as they follow those standards, then yes, they could operate the group daycare home there.
Okay. And remind me again too, is there anything if let's say that property owner, or let's say that she does it for a while and then she moves somewhere else. If the property owner that succeeds does not do that after a certain period of time, can it be revoked?
It can be revoked. There's a couple of ways. If she were to move to another home in the township, you could essentially deal with the rescinding approval on this site at the same time you're granting approval on another site. It's a public hearing process to rescind, just as it is to approve. We do have cases where special use permits, essentially are no longer active, and the Plan Commission can pursue rescinding that, but it is a public hearing process.
Right.
So,
but we can do that on our initiative.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Other questions? Any questions about the operation? Or, Commissioner Buckley.
I'm just curious if, based on Rodney's updated timeline, does the applicant feel comfortable that the changes that are listed in terms of the fencing and the driveway and stuff, that can be, and it sounds like the closing and the sale of the house too, that it can all be accomplished by the deadline that's been provided at the end of this calendar year?
I believe, the deadline was December, and I'm just going to be straightforward and honest. I mean, moving that until not even going on until the end of the month, I think you said on the 27th, it definitely is not going to make my life easier. As a single mother, guys, I'm in a pinch. I don't have any option. This is what I have to do because I have to move my location. And, will it be really extremely hard to make that happen? Yeah, absolutely. Will I make it happen? Absolutely. Will it mean, I have my fencing that's down, that's the fence that I would like to do that's permanent. And I'll just be honest, it may mean that, if my driveway has to get done first, and depending on how cold the weather gets, it may just mean it's a little bit more of a temporary fence. But anything that's done has to be within the guidelines anyway of licensing, and, dimensions are going to be the same and all of that. So to tell you how that would forecast exactly, I can't tell you that. I can most definitely tell you that the longer it takes to get this, yeah, it will be more difficult. I mean, if I said differently, then I would be lying.
And Rodney, you'd be able to work with in terms of approving any kind of that's an administrative decision to approve any kind of temporary fencing that would be adequate for proceeding with the business prior to permanent fencing.
Yes, we could work with her on that. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and like I said, and I just want to clarify, and I know that you all have your rules and standards, but I don't know if you've ever looked at the licensing rules and standards for the state of Michigan childcare homes. They're very specific, very specific. So just because I get my special use permit does not mean that licensing will give me a license. So once I get the special use permit, it only means that I can apply for my license. Now that license can still take, at minimum, it would take 1 month, which hopefully because I'm transferring, it will be a very quick process because they have my paperwork. So as far as like the fencing and all of that, it might mean that maybe, I don't even know how to say what it could possibly mean. Like I said, I'll cross that bridge when I get to it, but whatever is done is still gonna hit state of Michigan standards. So I don't know if that maybe helps ease anybody's mind. It's not like I can just throw something up and call it good. I have requirements that I have to meet, and they have to, number one, have safety standards for the kids. I hope that helps.
Yeah, I think so. And one of those standards is if they're outdoors, it has to be in an area fenced with a fence of a certain height. Is that right?
Absolutely not, which I thought was a little bit odd that you required a fence. It does not have to be fenced in. However, if there is, and that's where I kind of had tried to talk about that a little bit previously before I had written everything up. No, so what would have to be fenced in, and it would have to be at least 4 foot high, is let's say I had a hot tub or a pool. In comparison, that's kind of like as part of daycare licensing for my outdoor play space. Like if I live next to a school and the schoolyard's not fenced in, I could actually utilize that as my outdoor play space, or I could use a park. So it doesn't have to be fenced in. However, when I say the fencing in, I couldn't just put up some flimsy, fence or something. It still has to meet those safety requirements, and anything that's done, like if it were, let's say for instance, a crib and you have the slats in it, like they have to be so far apart. And so it would meet all of the safety requirements when the fence goes up.
Yeah. But so the fences are from our zoning ordinance then, I gather.
The fence is only from the zoning ordinance because the state of Michigan does not require that I have to have it fenced in outdoors unless there's a body of water.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Other questions? Commissioner LaBelle.
Yeah, Bree, just curious, have you already done a home inspection on the property on Bamber?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so there wouldn't be anything in that inspection report that I guess there aren't any issues there that would where you wouldn't move forward with the sale?
Yeah, no, and like the water and all of that was done, and also part of like the state of Michigan, the health department will come out again and do it as part of the licensing process.
Okay, so you've already done that, the time of transfer of the well and septic?
Yeah, that's already been done.
Or I guess the seller's already done that?
The seller has, right, correct.
Okay, and then your home inspection, everything's good there. So I'm just asking because those are typically in a sale, those are ways to get out of the sale if you're not interested.
Yeah,
So
no, absolutely. And I only had 3 days from the start of my lease to complete that inspection. So it was actually, I had a very short timeline to get the inspection done, but that was done very quickly.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Other questions? Commissioner Buckley.
Is it, understandably, once approved, the special use permit remains with the property. Is it appropriate or allowable for us to, just because, in some ways, I guess we're putting the chicken before the egg, but is it, can essentially the closing of the sale of this house, and can that be a contingency on the special use? Or is that essentially granted, and, even if the house, if the deal falls through, a move isn't made, that we're just placing a special use on a residential parcel, even if for some reason the applicant does not ever take ownership of it. How does that work?
So the short answer is no, you can't make a contingent upon the applicant buying the property. And it's really because the special use runs with the land. So we're really looking at, is this proposed use right for this particular location? It doesn't comply with the standards or not. And if it does, it doesn't really matter who is doing it, as long as it meets the requirements that apply. So I understand this is an awkward circumstance, even more so than some other special uses might be, just because it's very personal to a particular operator for the group daycare home. But really, all we're doing here is deciding, is this the right use for this particular property, in terms of, is it compatible with the property, with the neighborhood? Will it be harmonious with the neighborhood? The standards basically that apply to all special use permits, and then the specific standards that apply to a group daycare home. If you find that it meets those requirements, then you should recommend approval of it. If you find it doesn't, then you should recommend denial or postpone and ask them to make changes. But ultimately, we can't tie it to the actions of the applicant right now. It has to run with the land.
But I suppose, now that I've said that, I suppose that if for some reason a deal fell through with the applicant, it sounds like, based on our prior conversation, Planning Commission could make an agenda item and simply rescind it at a later point if they chose to.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, can I just say something too, just to maybe help you understand like the process in childcare business and that. So right now I'm leasing this home. I'm still here. I mean, I have previously leased a home, and I've ran a daycare from that leased home. So even if I continue to not own the home and I continue to lease it, so for some reason, if my house doesn't sell as quickly, or I have to extend the lease, or whatever happens, I'm still leasing the home. And even during the lease, I still need to have the special use permit in order to operate the business and get the business transferred here. And so hopefully that helps just a little bit of understanding. And like I said, actually before I moved into Shepherd Road, I had leased the home that I was in at that time as well. And I also operated my daycare at that time. So if that helps you understand, like it wouldn't make sense to base it on the contingency of the sale of the home, because I am leasing it right now.
Okay. But as of this moment, you also are, the daycare is operating out of the home on Shepherd Road?
Yeah, that's correct. So the way that licensing works is that first and foremost, I have to get my special use permit and my license here before I can transfer my business. So that license number will be open while I also am opening my license here. And so once I'm ready here and I have that special use permit, I apply for my license. Everything will be set up here. So essentially we're actually slowly moving our house stuff over here, but we're still there. So we're back and forth. So yeah, so once that special use permit comes in and I can apply for my license and my license is approved, then my business moves. So until that time, my license is still at my other home where it's still operating from. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. It's just,
Okay.
it's a complicated situation.
You know, and it really is. And because I'm selling the house and because it's all, you know, and because I'm the sole income in my home, it's not like I can just be like, okay, I'm going to take a month off or transfer or do whatever. So
Yeah.
everything really is contingent upon the special use permit, even though I'm leasing it. Because if the special use permit doesn't come through, so if I took an offer on my house today, and for some reason you all say that the special use permit isn't approved, well, I just sold my house and I gotta go, and now what am I gonna do with my business? And so then, you know, I would have a really big dilemma.
Yeah.
So the way that it's set up so that we can kind of make it all like flow together, even though it goes from lease to purchase.
Understand. Other questions for the applicant? Next step for us will be to go through the criteria. So I want to get questions answered and then have her, we'll have her escorted back to the audience side of things or attendee side of things. But any other questions for the applicant? Okay, I would encourage you to remain on the line, because if any questions come up during our deliberation, we'll want to ask them. But if there aren't any other questions right now, then I'm assuming you can move her back to the other side without disconnecting the call.
I can, yeah.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So the next step for us, I think, would be to go down the checklist and to just, you know, evaluate the application that's before us. So I'll go ahead and read these, and if you have a comment, jump in. All right. So 1, the proposed land use is identified in section 3 as a special use in the zoning district. Township staff has confirmed that that's true. And then the next item is broken down into 3 parts. So the location, design, activities, processes, materials, equipment, and operational conditions of the special use will not be hazardous, detrimental, or injurious to the environment or the public health, safety, or general welfare by reason of, and then there's 3 separate reasons. 1 is traffic. All right. And so the report points out that really the only vehicular traffic is going to be the coming and going of her staff and families dropping and picking up children. But any comments on that? And then the same preface blurb, and then by reason of noise, vibration, dust, glare, or light. And I think it was pointed out that the only real noise you're talking about will be the children outdoors, when they're outdoors. Any comments? And then the last one is by reason of odors, dust, drainage, pollution, or other adverse impacts. All right. Then the next one is the special use will be designed, constructed, operated, and maintained in a manner compatible with adjacent uses, the surrounding area, and the intent of the zoning district. Where determined necessary by the Planning Commission or Township Board, the applicant has provided adequately for any restrictions on hours or days of operation, minimization of noise, and screening improvements or other land use buffers to ensure land use compatibility and minimize adverse impacts. And it was pointed out that the application includes hours of operation from 5:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. And is there a condition on just weekdays or no?
No, there's no limitation in the ordinance regarding the number of days per week.
Okay, so it's just, and the applicant hasn't stipulated days of operation. It's just
that is a good question. I have it. Let's see.
I'll double check
Here.
here.
No, she is not. She's only stipulated the hours.
Okay, all right. So the hours are stipulated as 5:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. So any comments or concerns on that item? Okay. Next one is the special use location and character is consistent with the general principles, goals, objectives, and policies of the adopted master plan. And once again, it is in an agricultural district. It's in the rural preservation designated area. I assume if it becomes an issue, we can make sure the kids are wearing overalls or something like that. That'll keep it more agricultural. All right. Not hearing any comments. The next one is the proposed special use conforms to all applicable requirements or standards of this ordinance or other township ordinances. And township staff have noted that it appears to conform with all of those. So any comments? Next, approval of the special use location will not result in a small residential or non-residential area being substantially surrounded by incompatible uses. Okay, not hearing any concerns there. Next is, I guess this is a multi-part one as well, but the impact of the special use will not exceed the existing or planned capacity of public or municipal services or infrastructure, including but not limited to fire protection services and municipal water and sewerage systems. And then the other two are including but not limited to roads, police, protection services, refuse disposal, other utilities, drainage facilities, and public or private wells. And the last one is the proposed use will not create additional additional requirements at public cost for services or infrastructure that will be detrimental to the economic welfare of the community. So I've heard no peeps. So I'm assuming that means that commissioners feel that that the proposal is in conformance with those requirements. Is there any further discussion, or does anybody have any further questions? Once again, this is under our current ordinance. This is a recommendation to the Township Board. So I will entertain a motion if someone wishes to make a motion. And again, the texts are prepared there in the packet. Don't all jump in at once. You can tell this isn't Hollywood Squares because there's dead air time. There wouldn't be any if there were. Anyway, does anyone move to make a motion?
I will.
Be my guest. Go ahead.
Motion to recommend to the Township Board of Trustees to approve the PSUP 21-03 special use permit application from Brianne Magenberg for the group daycare home at 611 South Bamber Road, parcel number 14-004-40-004-01 on approximately 1.71 acres of land in the southeast quarter of section 4 and in the ag zoning district, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, parking and fence improvements to be completed by December 1, 2021. Number 2, a copy of the state documentation approving the transfer of Aunt Bree's daycare from 3769 South Shepherd Road to 611 South Bamber Road shall be provided to the zoning administrator prior to operation of the facility at this location.
Okay, so you've heard the motion to recommend approval with conditions. Is there a second?
I will second that. The only thing is, I thought he said December 1 instead of 31. Did anybody else hear that?
Mhm.
Okay.
The date of the first condition should be December 31.
Correct. Yes, I amend my motion to say December 31.
Okay.
I second.
All right. So you've heard the motion with the condition, or at least the first condition, to be completed by December 31 of this year. And it's been seconded. So the motion was by LaBelle and was seconded by Thering. Is there further discussion? If not, I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Albrecht,
Yes.
Thering,
Yes.
Buckley,
Yes.
Shingles,
Yes.
Fuller,
Yes.
Squadrito,
Yes.
LaBelle,
Yes.
and Lap.
Yes.
Okay. That would be 8-0.
Excellent. Thank you. So this will now go to the township board and they'll get it on their next available agenda. And so our job is done here on this topic. So good luck to the applicant and look forward to having you in the community, assuming this goes through.
Thank you all very much. I really appreciate it.
Okay. You have a good night.
Thank you.
All right. So the next item is also a public hearing. This is the public hearing on the all the various changes to the zoning ordinance. So the zoning ordinance text amendments, it's P text 21-01, zoning ordinance text amendments. So I again will turn to Rodney if you want to, if there's anything you want to say by way of introduction before we move to the public hearing.
Just to quickly introduce, as said, you've been working on these amendments for a little while. These are, we called them our punch list amendments. This comes from working with the new ordinance that was adopted last September, almost exactly a year ago. It became effective actually almost exactly a year ago. And working with it over the course of the year, noted some items that needed to be tweaked or typos that need to be corrected. And so this set of amendments covers that ground. There were also a few new things that have come up, like the food trucks that we've added in as new items. So overall, it's a set that you've been working on now for a couple of months. For the public hearing draft, as we noted in our report, top of page 80 of your packet, we did make a few additional changes that based on your direction from previous meetings. There were some additional typos were caught. We did add definitions and update definitions. We did actually correct, talking about daycare, in this case, daycare center. We did correct the fence height to 48 inches. And then Peter identified an additional potential regulatory conflict that came up as we were putting the public hearing notice together. And so we took care of that as well. That's the additional change to section 6.16A. That's on page 23 of the packet, or of the set page, actually page 57 of your packet. So with that, we're pleased to recommend this to you and hopefully move this item forward.
Okay, very good. So we'll have the public hearing and then we'll move on to our deliberations. So once again, this was announced in the newspaper, and it's been on the website, and certainly it's been in our minutes that it was coming. We approved this last month, or maybe it was even a month before that. But in any case, so we want to give everyone who's in the public who wants to offer a comment in this the opportunity to do so. So when we open the public hearing, we'll ask anyone who is present on the computer to hit their raise hand button. If you are present by phone, you can do *9, and that will have the same effect. We'll bring you across, let you, voice your comments. We ask you to give us your name and address for the minutes, and at least initially limit your comments to 3 minutes. Once everyone who has spoken wants to speak, has had a chance to speak, we'll consider recognizing people for additional comments. So that said, the public hearing on the zoning text amendments is open at 8:02. I'll ask same question I asked before. Were any written comments, any phone calls, any inquiries received by any other means on this?
No, we did not receive any written comments and have not received any phone calls related to the public hearing.
Okay. Is there any buzz? Have there been any random car horns? I mean, any evidence that anyone outside of our little walls here has taken note of it?
Actually, there's a couple of things out there. One, quite a long time ago, we received a call about opening a gentleman who wanted to open up a medical marijuana caregiver activity in the township. He's not here tonight. I did let him know. Unfortunately, didn't give him a lot of notice on it, but did let him know about the hearing. But he was interested. Whether he would pursue it or not now, I don't know. But I did have a conversation with Jim McBride. He's the president of the Middle Michigan Development Corporation, which is our regional economic development agency, and he was very excited with the proposal to allow for some employment center type activities, so the distribution center, warehouse, light manufacturing in some of the business districts as a special use. He thought that was an excellent addition, and asked me to simply pass it on to you to let you know he thought that was a very valuable addition to the community and would offer more opportunities for economic development projects in the township.
Okay, good. Okay, second call for public comments. And third call for public comments. Okay, just just looking at the attendees and so on, I'm going to make a judgment call that we don't have any public comments on the zoning ordinance text amendments. So let the record show that no public comments were offered. And we'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 8:05. Okay. And so now it's up to us. The next step in the process is to either make additional changes if we want to, or to recommend the item. Well, we can recommend what we have in its current state to the Board of Trustees. We can make any additional changes and then recommend the document with those changes. We can postpone action, or we can recommend denial. And I scratch my head because I'm not really sure why we would ever do something that we created, but anyway. So go ahead. So it's open for discussion. And so I guess what I would ask is, does anyone have any remaining, points that they want to discuss, issues, specific concerns with any of the changes, or anything that, we didn't change that you want to change, or any of the changes that are being proposed? And we did spend a good bit of time on this, but, that was like they both came at exactly the same instant. But I'll go to Fuller first, and then we'll go to Buckley.
What was the change that Peter, you said was on page 57?
Yep. So this is section 6.16, which is the standard. It's a section that applies to single family homes. It sets the minimum standards for all types of single family dwellings. And the change was related to the language for width. You can see there, it actually wraps over from the bottom of page 57 to the top of page 58 of the packet. It's and the language said, as it says right now, it says that the minimum width across the front facade, front elevation is 30 feet and 24 feet on any other elevation. But the way the language was worded, and especially as it tied to the other sections that we are already changing, it creates some confusion as to, is it 30 feet minimum? Is it 24 feet minimum? And there really is no need for 30 feet. That's more than is necessary. The whole point really of the minimum width standard is to have a mechanism to ensure that single wide mobile homes cannot be put on a non-mobile home park lot. So in a subdivision, you can't drop a single wide mobile home 14 or 16 feet wide on that lot. And so 24 feet is fine to do that. 24 feet, that is, you can put a modular home, essentially a two-part home, which is fine. That's a single family home. It can fit in the neighborhood just fine. There's no reason to go out to 30. So what we've done, the change is to delete the language about 30 feet and to simply set the minimum width of a dwelling at 24 feet.
Okay. So that would eliminate any sort of tiny home situation.
Well, that's already eliminated actually, because we have minimum square footage standards as well that apply. So there is not an option to put a tiny home on a residential lot in the township right now. That's certainly something that we could discuss how to do that. There are obviously there's some pros to tiny homes. They as an accessory dwelling unit, they can be nice in mother-in-law suite or whatever. But there are also some pretty significant challenges associated with them. So it's a topic I would recommend that we discuss in more detail.
Commissioner Buckley?
Well, I apologize. I just had a member of the family unit step in, and so I was distracted for a minute. I was only going to make a comment on, generally speaking, on the language in general. I think Commissioner Fuller had a couple of questions here, but generally speaking, I was just kind of curious how we wanted to approach this. I feel pretty comfortable with having done a very detailed review of it and gone through section by section and discussed the additions and the edits that we're making. So I'm pretty comfortable with what we have here, but obviously if anybody else has any concerns with any kind of specific details, then more than happy to talk through those.
Yep. I'm inclined to agree with you, but I do want to make sure everybody wants or has the opportunity to voice any concerns that they have, because otherwise it's going to go forward. So other comments or questions or concerns? And with for the township, for the Board of Trustees, because this is the zoning ordinance, isn't there like a multi-week, like a reading and a public hearing and another reading or something like that before they actually approve it?
Yes, there's actually several steps to go. If you were to take action tonight to make a recommendation, the next step actually is to go to the County Planning Commission. They have, under the State Zoning Act, they have 30 days to review and comment on zoning ordinance amendments. So I have made them aware of it. They actually have a space in their next agenda, which is in early October, if you were to take action tonight. Then after that, either after the 30 days have expired or they've made their comments, whichever comes first, then it can go to the Board of Trustees. And yes, they would hold 2 readings. They don't hold a public hearing unless they choose to. But they are required under the Charter Township Act to hold a first reading, and then there's a publication notice of that first reading and a notice that the second reading will happen on a certain date, and then they can hold the second reading. And it's only after the second reading and an adoption action that the process gets finalized.
Okay. So it actually will be probably, well, certainly be closer to the end of the year, but it'll be a little ways off then. Okay. So again, it's open for comments and discussion. And again, we can have a motion under, one of the 4 options that was that's been presented. While people are thinking, I also want to take the opportunity to thank Rodney and Peter for their efforts in getting this put together. It was a significant undertaking. Even the revisions, there's a lot of revisions, and you brought a number of things to our attention and for our consideration, and so I do think it's been, as Commissioner Buckley said, it's been a nice, orderly process, and we've attempted anyway to do our due diligence. So I think I'm getting the sense that most people are feeling like we're probably ready to pass it along for the trustees to consider, but we want to make sure we catch anything else that anyone else is still concerned about. But once again, we can have a motion if anyone wants to make one.
I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend to the Township Board of Trustees that the PTXT 21-001 zoning ordinance text amendments to sections 2 definitions, 3 zoning districts and maps, 4 schedule of regulations, 6 standards applicable to specific land uses, 7 general provisions, 9 parking, loading and access management, 11 signs, 12 nonconformities, and 14 administrative procedures of the zoning ordinance number 20-06 be adopted as submitted.
I'll second that.
So a motion was by Buckley with second by Lapp, as you just heard it, which is basically to recommend approval to the Township Board of the text amendment as it's been prepared or produced. All right. As submitted, the language in the amendment. Further discussion? All right, I will ask for a roll call, please.
Fuller,
Yes.
Shingles,
Yes.
LaBelle,
Yes.
Thering,
Yes.
Lapp,
Yes.
Albrecht,
yes,
Squadrito,
Yes.
Buckley.
Yes.
Okay, 8-0, motion passed.
All right, very good, thank you. So as you heard, that'll go to it goes to the county first, and then it'll go to the board, and so we will the next step after that will either be we'll get our new binders, or it'll get sent back to us for further work. All right, so we do have one other business item tonight, which is the adoption of the 2022 calendar. And so at the very last page of your packet is the proposed calendar, and it includes maintaining the third Tuesday as our standard meeting day, third Tuesday of each month. And so I did actually check those dates. They're all correct. And January 18th, the first one is proposed as a meeting where the Sidewalks and Pathways Prioritization Committee would attend. So we'd have a discussion with them, and that would be part of our agenda. And then there's also a joint meeting, which has been a township tradition for some period of years. But I guess at some point the decision was made to move that to a Tuesday. They had been on Wednesdays, which was the trustees' day, but I see that it's actually proposed to be a Tuesday next year. It's just an alternate Tuesday from our regular meetings. But so I guess we would want to approve our portion of this or not. So does anyone have any concerns with the proposed schedule? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the 2022 meeting schedule as proposed.
So moved.
Who was
Support.
that? Was that Fuller? Alex? So motion was made by Fuller with a second by Buckley to approve the meeting schedule. Further discussion? It is an action item, so I'll ask for a roll call then.
Okay. Albrecht,
yes,
Thering,
Yes.
Buckley,
Yes.
Squatrito,
Yes.
Fuller,
Yes.
Shingles,
Yes.
Lapp,
Yes.
LaBelle.
Yes.
Okay, 8-0, motion carried.
Excellent, thank you. So that was our business. Is there any other business that needs to come before us tonight? Okay, hearing none. Then we have extended public comment. This is the portion of the meeting where individuals are invited to address the Planning Commission on any item, whether it was on tonight's agenda or not. Again, either hit your raise hand button or *9 on a telephone, and we'll recognize you. Please give us your name and address for the minutes, and limit your comments to 5 minutes on any issue. Extended public comment is open at 8:20. Is she trying to talk?
I just clicked to allow her to talk. Bree, did you have something, any comments you wanted to make?
I did not have anything. I just accepted the offer to unmute my microphone.
Okay.
All right, thank you. So, and she's the only attendee, so I'm gonna go ahead and close extended public comment at 8:21. So final board comment, any comments from board members? I guess one thing to mention, you should have gotten the email from Peter, I forget whether that was yesterday or today, about the state planning conference. It's coming up in October. I guess it's virtual. So, you could perhaps attend if you and participate in some of the sessions if you wanted to. So if you're interested, let Peter know. He can get you registered. And there will be other opportunities. The map trainings and so on will be coming up. I know there's a round of those in March each year, sometimes in the summer as well. So anything anybody has? I guess I just want to ask briefly, how is the agenda for October looking?
Actually, at this point, I don't believe we have anything yet on that agenda.
Okay. All right,
One
well,
of these preliminaries have submitted a final.
We have there were two I guess I should take that back. There were two projects that could have been on this agenda. They were that didn't make it. One was the county jail final site plan. That the project was simply incomplete, and I left it up to the project architect in this case for that. I said I can put you on the agenda if you like, and they decided not to. So they're revising and they're going to resubmit. They had not gotten through all their outside agency approvals yet, and they had the ones that were outstanding could have affected the site design. So I think it was the best choice to revise and resubmit. So there are some projects out there floating around. We also certainly regularly are talking to people. We have a possible planned unit development project that is being explored right now. There are always things out there. And of course, we do have the Parks and Rec plan, which is my delay. It's only because I have not done my part to get that off the ground. So that one, I would love to say I'm aiming to try to have that one on your October agenda for next step as well. So I'm sure that by the time we get there, you're going to have a good number of items on it.
okay. So our next meeting is October 19th. Any other comments from board members? If not, then enjoy the beginning of fall here, and have a good rest of the month and beginning of next month, and we'll see everybody back then in October.
Thank you.
So we'll stand in adjournment.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good night.
Night.